I think we can proceed to the next candidate, and let us invite here Михайло Мірошніченко.
Доброго дня, пане Михайле.
Hi, Михайло. So you can see here 6 members of the commission. 3 of us are online, Laura Stefana Lemanovska and Matthew Murray. 3 of us are here in Kyiv, Andriy Kozlov, Natalia Onищенко and Tatiana Tsuvina. We would like to ask you a couple of questions, taking into account those answers that you provided to us. Taking into account that some of them have public interest, we will repeat them. So the head interviewer today is our colleague Laura Stefan. And if you need interpretation, please take the headset. So Laura, over to you.
Thank you very much, Tatiana, and hello, Mr. Mірошніченко. I would have a few questions for you, and I would respectfully ask you to try to stay within 5 minutes when answering these questions. Some of them are very short, so it won't take 5 minutes. Others are more detailed. We start with a question about your wife's mother, so your mother-in-law. Can you tell us where exactly she lives?
Шановна комісія, добрий день.
Dear Commission, good afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity to take part in the interviews for the position. She lives in Vinnytsia. Right now she is.
Yes. So we understand that she's about 76 years old. And that according to the tax service of Ukraine, between 1998 and 2023, she made around 4,000 euros in total. Also, according to the Unified State Register of Court Decisions, we understand that she was brought to justice under Article 160 of the Administrative Offenses Code of Ukraine, which relates to trading in unauthorized spaces. Also, according to the official data of the Ministry of Internal Affairs of Ukraine and the information held in the Register of Ownership of Real Estate, your mother-in-law has acquired a number of properties. And without referring to the exact address of these properties, I will list them. There is an apartment of about 66 square meters in Kiev, bought in 2018, a parking space of 23 square meters also in Kiev, bought in 2016, which was later gifted to your wife in 2017, an apartment of about 143 square meters in Kiev, bought in 2020, an apartment of 150 square meters also in Kiev, bought in 2016 and gifted to your wife in 2017. An apartment of 68, 69 square meters in Kiev, bought in 2017. And a number of cars, BMW X5M 2022. The date of acquisition of ownership is in 2023 and was declared by your wife in 2023, the use of the car. Lexus, which was acquired in 2020, and the date of expiry of ownership is 2023, which you indicated to use. A Toyota Land Cruiser 200 made in 2016, which was procured in 2016, and the expiry of use is in 2020. You declared that you used it in 2016. And a Ford F-150 produced in 2013, bought in 2015, and the expiry of ownership is in 2016. You see our challenge to understand how your mother-in-law with about 4,000 euros income in between 1998 and 2023 managed to procure all this property. So if you can tell us anything about how she managed to procure these assets, it would be very useful for the Commission.
Пані Лауро, дякую за запитання, шановні члени комісії.
Dear Laura, thank you for the question. Dear commissioners, answering the first part of the question, which is the easiest, I am slightly shocked with the information in 1996 that my mother-in-law was held accountable by the law. I think that's been quite a long time ago. Then, about her financial possibilities, her property, you will find information about that in my written explanations. I would like to say immediately that this is some of the facts of personal lives of third parties, but with the goal of being open and transparent with you, with the society, I am ready to discuss that and explain. My mother-in-law is quite old. As an entrepreneur, she started working in the end of the 80s, the beginning of the 90s. She was the wife of a military person, and they lived abroad, all of their family. So as an entrepreneur, she started even then. What country was it? Where did your father serve? The Czech Republic. Czechoslovakia, probably. Then that was the time when she started trading things. She brought stuff to Ukraine where she sold it. At that time, quote unquote, that was not very legal, but she did all she could to survive and to do what she needed to do to become an entrepreneur. In 1990, her life was quite active. One of the facts that can testify to that, in the end of the 2000s, my wife's family owned seven agrarian companies, including a sugar plant, sugar factory. There were others as well. The family, well, as we see it in my family, the life of the family members of my wife are not of interest for me. Laura, you don't have a mother-in-law that would be your wife's mother. It's probably difficult for you to understand, but I should say that the relationship that I have with my mother-in-law is less than perfect. Maybe that's my fault, maybe hers, I don't know, but we have what we have. The property that you listed is the property of my wife. This property used by the elder daughter of my wife. She does family business now. Demyanik Nela, who was in some of other questions, this is the daughter. I will talk about that more. Then her husband, who is not registered as your husband, he's a partner. There are some aunts. Maybe I missed something in the declarations, but from 2015, I understood the declaration, or rather so. Before 2015, that was not the declaration, that was not this institution that would work properly. But still, I tried to be open. I tried to declare my property. I know in some media, there was information that you will find information about my apartment several times. But yes, I wanted to be open. So I declared what I had, the vehicles. I used them without really my mother-in-law knowing that. I used it for my own purposes from my wife without authorization. I still understand that things have to be changed. I need to lead the change, and I declared that. I did not count that was the criteria. It met the criteria for use of the car, but I used it, so I declared. I think it's the right thing to do. Now the situation with private life. My mother-in-law, I think it was in the 80s or so, she adopted her elder sister.
Mr. Mірошніченко, can I stop you right there because we do have a question on that, and I'll give you the opportunity in just a second to explain this part of the story. You did indeed explain it in writing to us, but I think it's useful for everybody to hear it. Just 2 points of clarification. So, if I understood you correctly, you're saying that your mother-in-law actually had higher incomes than those that are recorded in the state tax service of Ukraine. So it's more than 4,000 euros. And based on that, she was able to acquire this property. Do I understand correctly?
Пані Лауро, дозвольте відкоригувати.
Let me correct. She had this property, or rather she had the income until 1998.
Okay, so she had previous assets before 1998. Okay, and then you said you don't have a very good relationship with your mother-in-law, and it happens in many cases. But I see that she's quite generous to your wife, and also she allows you to drive her cars. So maybe the situation has deteriorated more recently, or at least in terms of property sharing, we see you as a family. I wanted to ask you, does she have a right to drive a car? That she has a driving license? I mean, what is the reason why the cars are on her name if you're using them? Why aren't they on your name or the family name, the wife?
Пані Лаура, моя теща дійсно має права.
My mother-in-law has a driver's license, but she uses a driver. She has a driver. She spends some time in Vinnytsia, some time in Kyiv. I don't really know what she does in either of the places. She sometimes comes to visit, to see her grandchildren, or to see her elder daughter and her children. So sometimes she comes. Sometimes I come to meet her. Sometimes it's my brother-in-law comes to meet her. I want to clarify the right to use these vehicles. I understand that I declared that, which means that I use them a lot. But I will come back to this fact. I declared that not because they meet the criteria of me using these cars more than 180 days or the last days of the year, or I have some rights. No. It's not just with my latest declaration, but with the rest as well. I'm in the civil servants. I wanted to be open, and I thought it's better to over-declare than under-declare. If we use elder circles, I mean, I only needed to use these cars for some of my routine things. You only look at that from my declaration, where I declare that I use them, or my wife does, but you don't see other relatives. The BMW, well, if I go to the end of it, I will. My elder daughter now lives in France. She relocated during the war with her husband. They have the right to leave the country because they have 3 children. And since they're in France, this has nothing to do with me at all. They live in Nice, which probably also testifies to their financial ability. But I'm here. So, and I never went to visit them because of my circumstances, but they are there. And the husband of the sister of my wife provided you with the funds to buy the vehicle, and she was waiting for him. He liked it, he bought it, and he asked her to buy it with his funds. Oh, she could do it too, because these cars would be bought and sold one by one. Your husband, is he a citizen of Ukraine? Yes, citizen of Ukraine. If you talk about my relatives, my mother has been in Italy since 2022, and my sister is a citizen of Germany since 1995. Yeah, I really want them to come back home. They shouldn't have left Ukraine in the first place, if we're talking about that.
Thank you. Thank you. We also understand that your mother-in-law is the founder of a company, Concurrent LA, with an authorized capital of approximately $40,000. The manager is Nelia Denianik, and we have a person, Mr. Artem Nahayevsky, who's a member of the Ukrainian parliament, who has the rights of signature in this company without being a shareholder. So I want to ask you very directly, is your mother-in-law the owner of this company, or is she an intermediary for another beneficial owner of the company? And are you personally in any way involved in managing this company?
Пані Лауро, дякую вам за таке запитання. Ви не
Thank you
розумієте.
for the question. You don't even realize how interesting that question is for me, because I did not realize that my mother-in-law has her share here. This is one of the assets that she owns. I was shocked. I went to my wife for explanations, because my questions to the mother-in-law, well, I may be slightly exaggerating, but she has your experience of doing business from the 90s. And she tells me, you're a civil servant. I know how the business was done then. She went through all of the stages that we could find in the 90s, raiders, or some raids. This is something which she had there as well. I tried to check the information on her incomes, and really there were some raid attacks on that sugar plant. Even if my wife talks to her, well, there's a lot of security in that. I didn't learn about that. I didn't know. I learned from you. I asked. She said, yep. There was some property which she acquired long before we met, if I understood it correctly. I had no idea about it.
So do I understand correctly that your mother-in-law also has other companies? Because I thought that this was her only business. Do you know of other companies that she has?
Називаємо так, у сім'ї
Let's say
моєї
that. My wife's family has business interests, they make business moves, but I'm not aware of everything that they do.
And I understood correctly that you're not involved in any way with this company. You're not managing it. You don't sign on it. And can you maybe think of an explanation why an MP would have a signature right in a company of your mother-in-law without having shares in that company? I mean, why would anyone have signature right in a company that they don't own?
Відповідаючи на першу частину питання,
Answering the first part of your question, I have absolutely no connection to any business activities of my mother-in-law. The second question, I don't know I don't know why he's there. Maybe at the time when the company was created, he had something to do with the business. I think it's best that he is asked about it. If it is a question that is very important, I'll try to get in touch with him and get this information from him, and I will pass it on to you. I mean, what kind of
Thank you.
relation does he have with that?
And do we understand?
Перепрошую, можливо, інформація є устаріла?
Maybe the information is outdated. He used to be involved in the company and something has changed. I doubt that in category A civil servant will be able to do that.
My understanding is that this company, Concurrent LA, is managed by Nelia Demjanic, who is the sister of your wife. She also gave her a gift in 2015, approximately 4,500 euros that you declared, right? I want to make it very clear. This information is in your statement. And I think you wanted to explain a little bit the situation with Miss Nelia Demjanic. My understanding is that she is adopted by your mother-in-law. And then in the early 2000s, her real mother, Miss Lyudmila Nahayevska, found her. And then the real mother donated a company to your mother-in-law. Is that correct? Do I understand correctly? And together with the company, also a significant amount of cash. Are you aware of this? Can you maybe explain it to the public a little bit better than I can?
Так, звичайно, для мене особисто це дуже така тонка тема.
For me personally, this is quite a delicate topic, and under different conditions, I wouldn't discuss it because my children and Nera's children might watch this. That is why I asked not to make this public, but anyway, I was ready to communication about this question. Exactly, you're right. My mother-in-law adopted Nelia, and back then her biological mother found her. Back then she was a very rich person. I don't know how to tell you, but when you Google the biological mother, you can see that she was really well off. And yes, her mother joined, they joined the efforts, and they sorry, I would like to clarify what's the paternal name of Lyudmila Nahayevska. Mykolaievna, the competitor, this story with this plant, I'm not ready to tell that. She died. I wasn't with them back then, so I wasn't part of the family. 2006? Well, if you write that this happy story is finding the biological daughter happened in the beginning of the year 2000, then yes, she was alive in the beginning of 2000s. Do you know what kind of business she was into? No. She was rich, successful, right?
Is there a connection between her, the biological mother, and the MP that has the signature right in the company? You see, we're not interested in personal details. We want to understand financial details. And unfortunately, sometimes they are intertwined with personal details. So we apologize in advance for discussing this, but please rest assured that our interest is primarily with the financial aspects of these complex connections. So is there a connection between the biological mother and the MP? Because I see they have a very similar name. And maybe that could explain why he's a signature in the company, I don't know.
Дивіться, поясню цього питання. Неля, дійсно,
Let me explain it this way. Nela is really the biological daughter of Ludmila, and my mother-in-law is the one who adopted, and Artem that you asked about is the biological son of my mother-in-law. What about genetic connection between your sister and Nahayevska? Or this is probably, as of now, I'm not ready to tell you, but let me put it this way. I think there is this genetic connection because inheritance happened, because I see that a significant part of the heritage was inherited by Nela as the daughter. Was it according to the law or according to the testament? If according to the testament, then it doesn't matter whether she's a daughter or not. I understand, but it seems to me that it's not a problem to identify this fact, and I would do everything to prove that.
Yeah, so maybe we can clarify this, and then you can share the information with us in writing after this interview. It would be very important to clarify why the MP has the signature right in the company. But let's continue with the rest of the questions. And we exit this family discussion, and we go into a discussion related to yourself. So from open sources and official reports of the State Bureau of Investigation and the Bureau of Economic Security, as well as through your explanations that you offered to the Commission, we learned that searches were conducted against you when you were a state official in the State Customs Service of Ukraine, in particular in November 2020 and in January 2023. In addition, there was an inspection regarding certain aspects in the Odessa customs in June 2023, and you were allegedly accused of committing a series of violations and negligence in performing official duties. And some of these documents were forwarded to law enforcement authorities, which opened criminal proceedings under Part 3 of Article 190 of the Criminal Code of Ukraine, titled Fraud Committed under Martial Law or State of Emergency, which caused significant damages to the victim. What we want you to clarify for us is to tell us what is your status in the investigative actions of the State Bureau of Investigation and the Bureau for Economic Security, as well as your status with regard to the criminal proceedings conducted by the National Police under Article 190 of the Criminal Code of Ukraine.
Пані Лауро, дякую за те, що дійсно...
Laura, thank you so much for this question. I would like really to put a full stop in this question because there were a lot of publications and media attacks. So how did it all start? I would like to start to tell you that in 2020 I didn't have, there were this situation didn't happen in 2020. And one political person published this information in social media, and then this information about searches that were conducted in 2020, this information stayed with me. This information was deleted from the media, but unfortunately it stayed everywhere, and though it didn't happen. As for 2023, I had searches, right, and a number of other public officials had the same. I cannot deny it. But that's what investigation is about, they need to do that. After that, I was present at several meetings with these bureaus, and I expressed my position, the position of the state customs service, because this problem was bigger and this problem was at a higher level. The investigation accepted my position, and after working on this version, maybe it was one of the versions, so the investigation took another direction and started working on another explanations of this case. In this case, I was a witness. I just did my testimony, and there were, in order for you to understand the situation, I would like to get back to 2020. In the middle of 2020, it happened that our state and the customs service in general took the responsibility for functioning of the grains corridor, like this grain corridor. It was in 2023, middle of 2023, because there was shortages. Sometimes there were no electricity or connection, and that is why I was selected to tackle those issues, and I'm sure that I did my job well. These grain corridors started working, and the customs service functioned as necessary. Everything started developing. And I would also like to say that my personal thought is the following. There was such a term which is called black grain. In my opinion, this term was created by tabloids. They played on the Russian side, and they inflated this negativity. They wanted to stop the agency that worked. I mean, the customs service. We worked well, and there wasn't a single day where we didn't work, even after shellings. And Odessa was part of the cities with combat actions, but we managed to work every day and night. We did customs clearance, and I was blamed in many things so that I contribute to illegal things, but we are all adults. We understand that export is implemented from the international export. The country has to export more than it imports, and that is why the role of the customs service is very important. Its role is not to check the quality of the grain, because in such a way we would just block the activities. For example, in 2012 there were such situations. That is why I had my own positions, and by the way, a lot of politicians who supported this spreading of negative narratives are now under arrest, and they are blamed for national treason. And I think that the list of such people will increase, because blocking such a sensitive such an important sector for the country is a problem. Sorry, it just took me so long to answer.
No problem. No problem. But I'm not sure I caught your answer. What is your status, your procedural status right now in these investigations, in the one done by the SBI and the Bureau of Economic Security, and the one done by the National Police? Are you aware that you have any status? Are you a witness? Are you a suspect? Are you nothing in terms of procedure in these investigations?
Пані Лаура, станом на
Dear Laura, as of
рік назад я ще був свідком.
2023, I was a witness in this case. I provided my testimony, Right now, I don't know where this investigation goes to. Probably this criminal proceeding has been closed yet. As of now, I don't know. But in 2023, I was a witness in this case. As for another investigation, I wouldn't say that this is a criminal proceedings, but when I resigned from the customs service, I defended my principal position, and some customs employees didn't like my position, because when you have a strong position, some people don't like it. So the situation that I had after resigning from the service, this was something like the system wanted to catch me or something like that. What I want to say that they wanted to blame me for what was done. I read the explanation. They wanted to blame me for something that happened after I left the service, because it was happening in March 2023 when I already resigned from the Odessa customs. And they had some kind of assumptions, and that is why they wanted to bring me to justice. So I think that anyone could be blamed for that. Is the corruption at the customs service? Yes, it does. Believe me. I don't know whether you analyzed my professional activities, and quite often I'm not a scientist, but I have some kind of a concept how to fight corruption. Did you face corruption yourself? I don't say that you are corrupted. Yes, I did, but I would do, and I did all my best to fight this corruption. So, can you tell us about head of the service, Zagrebikin or someone, under whom the situation improved? Pavlovsky, Demchenko, Zvyagintsev, Nefedov. Did the situation improve? Well, let me put it this way. I can tell you, but only off record. I don't want to hurt anyone, but when there were media attacks, for example, tabloid publishes something negative, and then other newspapers, other publications take the same situation. So I can tell you the same. I can tell you that there are some politicians that might be corrupted, but I won't be able to tell you that. So, for example, you just said that you wouldn't like to become an investigator. That's what you said. But if you become head of the NACP, you will be obliged to do some actions against all those people. And taking into account your previous words about the fact that they are in power and you wouldn't like to investigate against them, to inform the population against them, it seems to me that you are manipulating the facts right now, but I would accept this as a compliment, right? Well, I can discuss these questions with you. I can tell you this only under confidentiality. Well, I'm just talking about your attitude. If you become the head of the NACP, it is obvious that, judging from what you say, you know about things that were happening at the customs. So what actions would you take against those people engaged in corruption, including those who have good connections, who are now at the highest level of power? If you know that they do something wrong, what would you do against them? Well, as you see, my positions didn't stop my enemies, and when I was blamed for something, I got this. And I fought against these, but I would like to do my best to fight corruption within the law. And Maybe I sound as a populist, but I believe in our state. I believe that the state service, the public service, can be cleared of the corruption. Yes, there are seeds of corruption everywhere, but our task is to fight corruption whenever we can. So thank you so much. I think we will be able to continue this discussion at the next level of interviews, but let's get back to Laura's questions.
I want a very simple answer, because I'm a bit confused. When you left the state customs office, have you left because you resigned, because you were dismissed, or because of term of employment finished, expired?
Офіційно зараз нас дивляться багато, можливо.
Officially, a lot of people see us now, so I would like to make full stop. I ended my activities because my contract ended. So that was the reason.
Okay, and I understood correctly that the inspection happened after you left the state customs office. It referred to the period when you were there, but the inspection happened after you left the office, correct? Is that what you said?
Пані Лауро, я хочу трохи конкретизувати.
We need to be a little bit more specific here. Now, the situation with the grain happened when I was in the office. And everything else that my service wants to pass on me, that was after I left. But the situation that did not happen when I was on the office. Yeah, they just want to hand it in to me when I was leaving.
Thank you. Thank you. Now I understand also the statement that you made in your explanations to us, where you said that the system was not willing to let go. We also, yes, please. You want to say something, right?
Конкретизувати, що
one more thing to specify. The inspection in question, I don't really understand what my status is within it. I wasn't related to this service. My colleagues told me I saw the act, but the development of the situation is something that I do not understand, at least from what I know about it. Our customs service really reported that they did some inspection, that they took some steps, but basically there are several inspectors which, well, I don't know who those are, because I was managing 273 people, so I don't know exactly who they are. And there are several violations that are being investigated by the inspectors, and I will not be surprised even if they have nothing to do with it. In my opinion, I'm not going to blame anyone, but I think that the situation was created to blame me.
Okay. We have learned that you also had 2 warnings and a reprimand between 2016 and 2017 for improper performance of official duties while you were the deputy head of customs in Lviv. Do you want to tell us anything about that? What were the circumstances in which you were sanctioned?
Ну, до сьогоднішнього дня я був впевнений, що в мене не було.
Till today, I was sure there was no disciplinary action against me. That was in 2017. That's a long time ago. Well, those who do nothing don't make mistakes, right? I don't think it was something very important. I don't even remember. Maybe that's because I worked well. I was once working as a deputy head, and my head was a woman, and she said, you know, everybody speaks so badly of you. I will probably understand immediately you are a good person.
Okay, now we move to the declaration of assets, and in 2015, also in the period between 2017 and 2023, you did not indicate the amount of cash owned by your wife, Oksana, and also between 2019 and 2023, you did not indicate the banking institution where your wife has banking accounts, and you explained that you couldn't get the information from your wife and that you cannot force her. We take that explanation of yours, but my question is, what do you think the impact of this kind of approach to declarations of assets by the potential head of an ACP would have over the rest of declarants that submit declarations of assets in Ukraine? Could also say, I cannot force my wife to tell me how much cash she has or where does she have the bank accounts. So do you think the declarations of assets in Ukraine are maybe too invasive, excessive? And what would the impact of having at the top of an ACP someone that cannot get information from the wife have on the rest of the declarant?
Пані Лаура, щодо мого бачення,
Now speaking about my vision, I think we can talk more about that in the upcoming interview, I hope. I want to say that the declaration, starting with 2015 and then up to 2023, when I submitted them, I was a civil servant, I was an inspector. I hope that the next declaration will be submitted by me as the head of an ACP, and I will really lead by example how this should be done. Still, I want to say that there was no bad intention there, a failure to declare, or rather the fact that my wife did not inform me about everything. I would say that she's guided by security or safety considerations. I don't know how I can make it go through, but my wife is her mother's daughter. She saw various consequences of the business activities of her mother. There was some raid attacks or something else. It's difficult to criticize a person in a country that is regulated by the rule of law. Declarations submitted by civil servants must be accompanied by declarations that are submitted by everyone else in the state, which I support. Laura, if the Commission really needs some information, if we observe the principle of confidentiality, I will be able to do that. You can give me a list. I remember you had resources to do that. You'll give me a list of questions and I will provide you with the facts. I think my wife will support me with that. If she does not, I will inform you of this. I don't see that this should be a problem. I think that the head of an ACP should lead by example.
And my last question is more of a general question to you. As you are a man with a long experience in key positions where you did have at times to face pressure. So given the specificities of the work of an ACP, dealing with financing of political parties and control of assets and interests of politicians and other state officials in Ukraine, do you believe that your previous experience would allow you to perform your duties in good faith as the head of an ACP, considering the fact that in previous positions you had to face significant pressures, according to your own statements? Thank you very much.
Пані Лауро, дякую за запитання.
Laura, thank you for the question. I think that the fact itself that I'm part of this competition made a lot of people get nervous. And I know I'm sarcastic a bit. I'm sorry, this has nothing to do with you. But some people sweated. I am quite resilient. I come from the customs, and we are being accused of everything from everyone. I believe that I always held back, and regardless of the challenge, I accept it with dignity, and I hold my line. And you should believe me that my life is very firm as to what kind of change we need to see in the state. And I'm ready to invest my life, my health, my powers, and I do not think it will be in vain. I'm ready to fight. I'm ready to fight for democratic principles for the sake of future of our generations to come, and my friendly or unfriendly relations. Whatever that is, it will all be guided by law. I have a lot of enemies, but I will start from the scratch, both with the friends and with the enemies. If the law dictates that we do some steps, we will do it. If not, then we won't. I will not be guided by subjective thinking.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this conversation and for answering these very sensitive questions. This is all from my side. I really appreciated the chance to discuss today. If my colleagues have any other questions, the floor is theirs.
У мене останнє запитання. Скажіть, будь ласка.
My last question is this. This is about the educational establishments where you studied. It's school number 3 in Mohyliv-Podilsky in Vinnytsia region. Oh, well, my childhood is another story. Thank you. The commissioners, do you have any other questions? Matthew, would you like to add or say something? No, thank you.
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Приєднуюся до слів Лаури. Думаю, кожен
Okay, we will join in what Laura said. We are grateful to you for coming to this interview and for being honest with us. Thank you very much and see you. Now, it's the time for our break until 1:45 p.m. And after the break, we're going to start with the next candidate, who is Irina Mostova.